Hey guys, welcome back to the Niecey Perspective. I'm Niecey, and this is where I share my thoughts on life, womanhood, and everything we experience, just from my perspective. Let's get into it. Who the hell decided who gets to be the pretty friend? No, seriously. Who the hell decided that? The glow up affirmation, I am not defined by labels, comparisons, or other people's standards of beauty. My value is inherent, and I deserve to take up space confidently and unapologetically. I love this movie, The Duff, The Designated Ugly Fat Friend. If you've never watched that movie, you need to watch it. That movie helped me a lot because it came out around in my 20s. I feel like it's a known topic in every form of friend group. So basically, it's about this girl. Her name is Bianca, and she discovers that she's been labeled as a designated ugly fat friend, the Duff, among her friend group. But the plot twist was she wasn't ugly. And the movie explained how labels, comparison, and insecurity shape how we see ourselves. So that goes into effect. You guys remember when Mean Girls came out? Mean Girls was another one. It shows how society shapes us and how we fit into certain friend groups and how we get compared between each other within our friend group or overall. When I sat down and I watched Duff, I thought of myself as being the unattractive fat friend. Like, I saw myself as the Duff in my friend group. Absolutely off the back on the wall. But as I got older, and I started to actually be more entwined and started to love myself more and put myself first, I see how easily I let other people's opinion define me. And I feel like that's what many of us do, why we automatically categorize ourselves as that Duff when in reality we are not. Because later on in that movie, her guy friend, which she ended up dating, he was like the popular guy, he said that you're the one that made yourself like that. You're the one that made yourself be perceived as that. She was the one, because I would agree. She was very pretty. And in the ending, when she wore stuff that made her feel confident, nobody could have told her anything. And one thing's for certain, two things for sure. One thing about a man, they love a woman that's confident. They love a woman that's comfortable in her own skin and that's secure. And when you get perceived as having low self-esteem, that's what defines you as being the unattractive friend and being that Duff. When you are basically categorizing yourself as that and somebody's not. Simple as that. And we've all heard about the hierarchy when it comes to friend group. Many women have had this experience where they have the pretty friend, the skinny friend, the popular friend, the funny friend, the smart friend. And it's funny how society basically creates and assigns those roles. Because one thing and two things for certain in high school, that's how we have those yearbooks that literally categorize that when somebody is the most popular, the best smile, best dress. People get categorized in that. So then other people feel like, oh my gosh, oh, of course she's going to win because she's always dressed nice and they probably can't afford the same clothes that she has. And it's not about that. You could literally have nothing, no sense of style. And one time you find something that fits your body type, you will be unstoppable. I feel like a lot of women that categorize themselves as Duff or the ugly fat friend or the unattractive friend is because they don't find clothes that fits their body and complements them and have that high self-esteem. Because if you have that hairstyle that makes you feel like a baddie, you wear your makeup that fits you, it doesn't over-exaggerate your face shape. You find outfits that actually work with your body type, you're unstoppable. It doesn't matter how you are shaped. When you find clothes that fit you and complement you, you look good. When you do your hair that makes you feel good, you look good. So when you categorize yourself as that, you dress how you look. And if you dress like shit and you want to be seen as more than that, but you categorize yourself as this, how do you expect people to see you? How do you expect for yourself to be perceived? Because if you don't dress the way that you want people to perceive you, then what can they do? But it also goes to my point. What's the point of ranking women? Like, why do women need to be ranked as all? Because if you ever always hear about in every single movie, there's always it perceived as the popular guy and the popular girl, and the girl that's the least popular, the guy that's least popular. But we're gonna talk about women here because this is a woman podcast. I'm just joking. But you always see the woman that is like considered less popular, and when you look at her, she's not really pretty. The only thing about it is that she's very quiet. She's probably into something that the popular people are not into. And maybe her clothes could be a little bit better in terms of how she dresses. Because if she dressed more confidently, I feel like they'll just knock it out the park. But you know how in those movies, like, what's the movie? She's All That. She's All That. When you watch those movies, when you watch Tall Girl, that movie on Netflix, when you watch those shows and you see how a lot of it starts off with the popular girl always looks her best. She always feels her best. Remember Mean Girls? She always looked her best and always felt her best. It's just how society works. And I think that's also what shapes us, because if we do not start that confidence and have that higher self-esteem as younger, that's what happens when we get older. It tends to affect us in that way that we don't dress for our body type, so that it equals into us not feeling secure within ourselves. And that's what equals into being called the designated ugly fat friend, pretty much. And then don't get me started, because if you're the bigger friend, oh, shit hit the fan. If you are considered a bigger friend, it's even worse. And with me and my friend group, I was always considered that bigger friend. So being that bigger friend, being dark skinned, and I wasn't really dressing for my body type. I was dressing for a type of body I don't even know. That's another thing that could kill your self-esteem. Not being dark skinned, because I never had a problem with my complexion. I always realized other people did, but I never had a problem with my complexion. But what I'm trying to say is that when you are literally also the bigger friend, that's what makes a big issue too. Because this reminded me of the movie. I saw this movie one late night when I was just bored, and it's called Brittany Runs a Marathon. I just want to give you guys a quick synopsis on Brittany Runs a Marathon. So Brittany was in her late 20s. She's struggling with her health, confidence, relationships, and overall direction in life. After a doctor's visit, she told she needs to make some lifestyle changes, like lose weight, specifically or get her blood pressure down. I think she was pre-diabetic, etc. So at that time, she was not able to afford a gym membership. So what she did was she started walking. She literally just started walking around New York City on the blocks. Trust me, them long-ass blocks, you could walk around New York. It's a very walkable city. Then she gradually begins running. She made her first, you could tell she was struggling in the beginning with the walking. Then when she started running, and then she decided to set a goal for herself to have that discipline to train for the New York City Marathon. As Brittany loses weight, she gains confidence. But the movie's real message is that her biggest transformation isn't just physical. She learns self-worth, discipline, resilience, and how to stop defining herself by other people's opinion. And that's why that movie and the Duff have to be one of my favorite movies. And I think she was very overweight, and she had like this one friend that was more slimmer, and every time they would go out, of course her slimmer friend would get more hit on than she would. And I'll never forget when she went to the doctor told her that she was very overweight and that she needs to lose weight. So what she started doing was walking more. So she started walking around New York City more. That's what helping her to lose more weight. And then she started losing weight. And then she realized that she was starting to get more attention from men. And when she got more attention from men, her friend that was a slimmer one that was getting most of the attention, she didn't like that. She felt very jealous in that way, because she was basically saying, like, I'm the one that always get asked out when we go out, not you. What the hell is going on? And that's another thing. When it comes to being a bigger friend, you get overlooked so much that when you have a friend that's probably more skinnier and people lean more towards, God forbid you be a pretty ass bigger friend and you get hit on and she doesn't. it hits the fan because you're saying to yourself, okay, like what does he see in her? Like, she's bigger and I'm slimmer. Like, come on. That's another thing that is like legit true. Because sometimes when you are the bigger friend, when it comes to going out and shopping, it's harder because certain clothes that it'll be easy for somebody to grab, it's harder for you because you have to find clothes that fit your body type. And you guys already know one thing and two things for sure. When it comes to bigger women, some of the clothes look like granny clothes. Absolutely looks terrible. And I'm not even talking about granny. I'm not even trying to say granny clothes like that. I'm just saying that they have the most hideous clothes for bigger women. That's why also the movie Fat Girls was very big to me because one thing about Monique, she tried to make women embrace, if you were a larger size, embrace dressing up, trying different patterns, trying different looks that matches your body type that still looks good. And that's what she was trying to tell as like the like I think she was like a fashion designer. She was trying to explain that we need to have more better looking clothes. And that's something that I've heard a lot of because don't get me wrong, my bigger size compared to probably would be like, I was like a size 14-ish and now I'm about a size 8, 10. So I would consider my 12, 14-ish should be on the bigger side. So I'm understanding in that aspect of when it's coming to find clothes that are extra large, they look a little bit different as opposed to somebody that's probably like a smaller medium will look a little bit more better. Or when it comes to wearing certain dresses, I have to be very mindful of the certain dresses and a certain body type. I'm trying to enhance my waist and it's enhancing my waist. So I get those experiences and that's what sucks because shopping was hard. It's hard. It's absolutely hard. And then dating experiences, so I won't say this necessarily was with me, but I've heard a lot of stories how some plus size women said that some men would date them more for fetishes or kinks, but they won't want people to know that they're dating them. How messed up is that? That's extremely messed up. Because I feel like you should be able to want to date who you want to date freely, regardless of anybody's opinion. But then there's some plus size women that went through that. Some men want to talk to them on the low when they didn't even mean it like that. Never, ever. So you get what I'm saying? So those experiences, it's a lot. Especially now when it comes to taking photos. How many of us, when we felt like we were larger, when we were taking photos, we did everything. We would have, if we could have had a bus to hide our entire body and only show our face, we would. How many pictures do I see of me always trying to hide my belly or me trying to pose a certain way to make myself look more slimmer, to look and feel more good? And I do it without even noticing it because we were trying to hide our body and it's being shown out there. And we're trying so hard to like, how many pictures that I see to myself and I'm saying to myself, come on, yo, like. And then another thing I noticed that even in high school, when I would wear certain bigger clothes and I would see how bigger I was, I looked like a grown woman because of how bigger I looked. But of course, you going through puberty, all that good stuff. But as compared to now, at least now I know I am older. My body type is slimming down. I'm fitting more towards it. But just seeing that, it's just like, that takes a toll on you. That takes a toll on your self-esteem. And then sometimes you just feel overlooked. And then sometimes some people have the feeling of feeling overlooked. And there are things that happen because basically what I said, remember I was saying when Brittany runs a marathon, how Brittany was more so of the plus size. So she was accustomed to not much men approaching her. And they were all being more approached to her friend. And she wasn't getting the most spotlight. Her friend was getting the most spotlight. So she does get overlooked. So she shrinks herself into a level so she's not seen. Because especially also in the movie The Duff, Bianca did the same thing. She shrunk herself when she felt like all her friends were getting all the attention. They were getting all the party invites. They were doing all this. And she shrunk herself to not really be seen when she didn't have to do that. Because she was really beautiful the way she was. And Brittany had a great personality the way she was. Literally the way she was. If she just opened up more and had more of her confidence. But when she started losing weight, she started feeling that more confidence. So that's another thing what happens is just being the bigger friend. Because when you're the bigger friend, when you are more heavier, you get overlooked. Simple as that. But then when you start losing weight, you start getting more attention. And then the friends that you have that's in your corner, number one, it could go both ways. They could be jealous of you or they could be supportive of you. There's no in between. Jealousy or supportive. There are some friends that'll be very supportive of you. Like, yeah, girl, lose that weight. I'm happy for you. You feel better. How are you feeling? How are you doing? And there's others that are gonna be jealous and say, why are you losing all that weight? Like, you're gonna be better than me. Cause don't get me wrong, I've heard the friend groups on TikTok, Instagram. I see it in the movies. I hear the friend groups about when the bigger friend loses the weight and the slimmer friend, the slimmer friend, I would say in that in that aspect, she's saying, "Oh damn, now I have competition." Because why would you say that? What in your exact mind will make you sit down and think that was appropriate to say? Like, why would you say that? Like, oh my gosh, why would you say that? I don't know. And it's like sometimes you don't want to be seen as like you're being a victim, because you're not. You're just speaking it from your perspective. I'm speaking it from my perspective, what I went through as well. Like, it's just because we did shrink ourselves. But sometimes I shrunk myself and I didn't even know it. I never even know it. Sometimes I'll go out with my friends and they'll get some of them will get more attention, and I'll just trick myself. But I have been told that some people said, like, men will tell me that they look like I'm not the type that play games, that it makes no sense in them approaching me. So now that questions it, because sometimes that's another thing that you hear a lot too, because they feel like there's certain people that they see they can't play games with, but they could play games with others. Because if I look like I'm the type that I don't play games, then I'm saying to myself, okay, then that's good. I'm happy to have that protection over me, because one thing and two things for sure, I don't have time for games. I don't have time for a guy approaching me with BS. I don't have time for that. But then it also goes to see me say, okay, so then you're basically what you're trying to tell me is that my friend in my friend group, you saw them as birds, that you could just play games with them. Because then now I'm pissed off because you think my friend is like that. I don't know. It's just crazy how you think about that. It's just crazy. Now when it comes to pretty privilege is a real thing. And there are women out here that are benefiting their asses off of pretty privilege. And I love that for you. I love that for you. I also want to talk about how having that pretty privilege makes certain women in their friend group, again, nothing to do with size, more with the looks in this aspect, feel overlooked, and they don't feel appreciated, and they feel insecure, and they designate their self as the DUFF. Because that's what happened with Bianca. She just literally automatically just put herself in a category as a DUFF. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And she didn't have to do that. She didn't. People definitely treat you different based off your appearance. And another thing, I realized that, and I don't know why, but especially something that I noticed from men, when they don't find you attractive at all, they're so mean to you. And that ties into pretty privilege, because if they see a woman that is very pretty, they're very nice to them, as opposed to somebody that they don't see as attractive, they're very rude. And that's completely uncalled for, because the way I see it is that as women, we have to be very careful to be nice to men before they get the wrong idea. But when a man is nice to a woman, I just think you're just being nice. Like, when I tell you that I'm the type of person that's very oblivious, if a guy is trying to talk to me, I'm very oblivious. There are times that my parents said that they saw that a guy was trying to talk to me, and I was so oblivious in that aspect. And that's not me being naive, it's just me in my mind, I'm not thinking what he's probably thinking. Like, he may think I'm attractive, okay, and he's thinking, oh, I'm gonna talk to her, and the whole time I'm thinking that, oh, he's just being very nice. That's nice of him. So yes. Now, when it comes to the privilege in that aspect, some women, they use their privilege as they should. But I feel like the privilege is based off a certain beauty standard. Because when certain women say they, like, especially like if a black woman show like they are pretty in a certain aspect, some people want to compare and say, no, they feel like this one is prettier than the other. And then when you see the comparison, it's always comparing it between more of a lighter and not darker. And I feel like a lot of darker women are not categorizing that pretty privilege as they should, because there are a lot of pretty dark-skinned women out there. Kaylee Rowland is beyond gorgeous. When you look at Olandria, beyond gorgeous. But again, dark-skinned women are not being perceived in those pretty privileges or those beauty standards, which they should. Because dark-skinned women are very beautiful. I also feel like pretty privilege also plays a role on, if you are a black woman specifically is what I'm talking about, because I am a black woman, is based off of certain features on your face. This is just my perspective, but I feel like when it hits pretty privilege and certain beauty standards, especially on a dark-skinned woman, she has to have certain features that look to give that more pretty privilege, because she has to have a more of a straighter nose. And anybody, if you feel bad about this, that's you. But she have to have a more of a straighter nose, and the eye shape has to have more of a certain eye shape, and her whole face structure has to be set a certain way with the cheekbones, the lips, and the jawline. I feel like that's what gets more perceived as pretty privilege. And there's nothing actually wrong with that, but I feel like everybody has their own beauty standards and what they deem as pretty. So, but what I'm saying as I just wish when it comes to the conversation that dark-skinned black women are more spoken up as having that pretty privilege, because there are a lot of beautiful dark-skinned women out there that fits that their pretty privilege status. But then now when it comes to certain friend groups, and I've also heard a lot of things about, there are some women, when it comes to pretty privileges, they make sure that they associate themselves with other women that they don't feel is really as pretty, so they could be the number one good looking one in that friend group. Don't know how true it is. I've heard stories. I don't know how true it is because I haven't physically seen it. These are stories that I hear from people talking about even online, or just overhearing in conversations. I've heard that effect. I don't know how true it is, but if that's really true, that's kind of fucked up. I'm sorry. That's messed up. But then there are also women that make remarks how they want their woman to look a certain way to have friends. That's another thing, because if you heard, what was that one artist name? I forgot her name. I think it's Erica something. Remember when she made that comment and she said that all of her friends gotta have BBLs or a certain body or look a certain way? It goes back. This is nothing to do with pretty privilege at this point. It goes back to what I say. Some people want friends only for the aesthetics and certain looks. That's why you hear a lot of them when they look a certain way and they go. You always hear how friend groups, they diminish in Miami. Or I should say female friend groups, they diminish in Miami. That is why. Because if you and your girls get ready, get dressed, and one looks different than the others, and they go to a club in Miami, and we all know how Miami could be. And I'm not talking about Wynwood, Miami. I'm talking about South Beach, Miami. And they go to the clubs out there, and they look at your friend, and they say your friend cannot come in, but you guys can. What are you doing? Because there was a TikTok just a while ago where one girl, she was plus size, and her friends went in and left her. And they said they called the Uber for the bigger friend because I guess she didn't fit the Miami's pretty privilege. Again, pretty privilege depends on where you are. Because like they always have that saying, your pretty privilege in Wisconsin, that's a 10 there. You go to Miami pretty privilege, that's a 4. So now in that aspect, what do you do? Because if you with your friends and you guys look good and your friend can't get in and you're going in, you might as well cut that loss, because we won't be friends today. Friends ever. Right now, you're blocked. That Uber back to the hotel, my room, the flight would have already been booked in the morning. Bags would have been packed. I would have been gone. That's what they always say. In Jamaica, have your vex money, because when anything happens, you could go. And I also feel like when it comes to pretty privilege, social media tends to play a huge role in that aspect. It doesn't matter how much confidence comes from within, or how much is shaped by how we're treated. So we could have the best confidence in the world, but if somebody comes and they treat you like shit, you're going to feel like shit. It's going to take a whole lot of revamping, because you could have the greatest confidence in the world and somebody could look you flat out and tell you that you're ugly. They always say when it comes to positive stuff, you tend to not put too much pressure on it. But when somebody flat out tells you that you're ugly, you're unattractive, you do not look good, and you hear those negative words coming out their mouth and you have them register into your brain, it hurts you a lot. If you don't solve the problem within yourself, it's not going to be beneficial to you, because you're just going to be losing weight, and then you're going to turn into a mean girl for no reason, because there are some people that when they lose their weight, they're scared to go back to how they were. So they get mean and miserable, and that's completely uncalled for, because you don't have to do that. I'm going to leave you guys on this note, on Niecey's note. The older I get, the more I realized that there was never a pretty friend, a skinny friend, or a duff. There were just women trying to find confidence in a world that profits from their insecurity. That's it for today's episode of the Niecey Perspective. And respectfully, that's my perspective. I'll see you on the next one.